Hi, I'm Dr. Wordperson, and today we're going to answer the question, what's the world's oldest language? Actually, we're not. Instead, we're going to talk about why this is such a difficult question to answer. Between the vagaries of historical preservation and the limitations of our historical linguistic reconstruction techniques, there's a lot we don't know. But let's start with some low-hanging fruit. What's the world's oldest attested language? The two contenders are Egyptian and Sumerian. The oldest period of Egyptian texts, known creatively as Old Egyptian, dates from around 3000 to 2000 BCE. Representing Egyptian, we have this handsome Rosetta Stone dish towel. Sumerian, on the other hand, is a bit more complicated. The earliest period of texts, known as proto-cuneiform, date to around 3200 BCE, and they're clearly writing, but we can't actually read them. The next period of text, around 2800 BCE, we can tell it's Sumerian, but we can't actually read it that well. For texts we can actually read, we have to go to around 2500 BCE. Representing Sumerian, we have this replica proto-cuneiform tablet. I spent some time at the Max Planck Institute for Wissenschaftsgeschichte studying proto-cuneiform, so I'm on Team Sumerian, but maybe we'll call it a tie? History of science, but was I going to pass up an opportunity to say Wissenschaftsgeschichte? No, I was not. So those were the oldest attested languages, but we can use historical linguistic reconstruction techniques to take languages we know that are related and then reconstruct the ancestor of those languages, even if it wasn't actually in the written record. The winner of this category is Proto-Afro-Asiatic, the ancestor of a number of languages from the Near East and Africa. So we have the Semitic languages like Hebrew and Arabic, and we also have a number of languages from Africa, like the Chadic languages and Berber languages, and also ancient Egyptian. So one of the reasons we're able to push Proto-Afro-Asiatic back so far is because some of the languages in it are attested really early. Like Semitic is first attested in loanwords in Sumerian, and Egyptian, we just got finished talking about that. And it doesn't hurt that Egyptian is already really divergent, so yeah, the language family probably goes back quite a ways. But all the languages we've talked about are dead. Which living language goes back the farthest? So the award for world's longest continuously spoken language still around today without, dying or splitting into a bunch of different languages, that award goes to Greek. The earliest Greek texts in a writing system called Linear B, that was before they got around to inventing the alphabet, those date back to around 1400 BCE. So 3,400 years! Yay, Greek! We're so proud of you! But a modern Greek speaker today would not be able to understand those texts from 3,400 years ago. In fact, scholars who study classical Greek from around the 5th century BCE can't read Linear B without special training. So now, next question. Which language's speakers could understand the oldest form of their own written language? That award goes to Chinese, back to around 1250 BCE. But with some caveats about having to replace those letter forms with modern letter forms and, some other stuff. And this is partly due to the fact that the Chinese writing system is very good at obscuring linguistic change. A speaker of Chinese now would not be able to understand spoken Chinese from 1250 BCE. So, which language's speakers could understand the oldest spoken form of their language? I don't know, guys. Maybe Icelandic or Tamil or Hebrew. Anyway, you see the recurring problem here? It's all based on what happened to be preserved. And it's not even like paleontology, where you hope that your dinosaur happened to die in a flood or in a sandstorm instead of getting ripped to pieces by the nearest predator. It's even worse. You had to be in a river valley where they invented agriculture and developed a complex civilization with administrative needs that they invented writing for, and wrote stuff down on a non-perishable material that we dug up and linguists found it and deciphered the language And then you win the linguistics lottery, hooray! Back in 3000 BCE, there were way more than 2 languages, it's just that no evidence of them has survived. And I'm not including things like the Indus Valley civilization in their writing because we haven't deciphered it yet, and probably won't given what we have already. And it's even worse than it sounds, because the factors I listed above are the worst possible bias for actually figuring out what the longest running languages are. Languages in areas like that tend to get replaced pretty quickly when the new civilization comes to town. The areas that are best at maintaining and preserving languages and linguistic diversity are remote peripheral areas that are pretty inaccessible. If I had to bet on what the actual longest running language was, I would guess something from the Caucasus Mountains or Papua New Guinea, which don't have that long of written histories. But I'm guessing the question you really came here for was, what was the first language ever spoken by human beings? Well, that language probably dates to somewhere between 1.8 million years ago and 100,000 years ago, or somewhere between Homo erectus and Homo sapiens. Obviously, that is too far back to hope for any sort of historical preservation, and it's also too far back for any of our historical linguistic reconstruction methods to work. They rely on finding similar-looking words in different languages, and then finding systematic similarities and differences between them. But after a while, words get replaced, and eventually you can't tell the difference between these words look similar by random chance, or these words look similar because the languages are related. But was there even a single original human language? Probably not. Take the example of Nicaraguan Sign Language, which developed when Nicaragua started bringing its deaf children together for education in the early 1980s. Prior to this, deaf children communicated with gestures and home sign systems, but no complex language. But once they were brought together, they developed an entirely new, full-fledged language. So language was probably not this brilliant invention that happened only once and was passed on ever since. Instead, language seems to be an emergent property of human cognition and social structures. So it's entirely possible that once human brains evolved to a certain point, languages just started popping up all over the place. So, as I promised, we did not end up answering the question, what is the world's oldest language? But I hope you gained a better understanding of what early human language history looked like, and also how we know what we know. And physicists, how about a time machine? Alright, that was my video. Thanks for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe. And if you actually have any information on... I give up. Which languages speakers could understand the oldest form of their own spoken language? Yeah, that one. The questions got really complicated there at the end. Anyway, if you know about that, I would love to hear it in the comments.